Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I have Nelson with me here. He's our sound guy here at the Parkersburg location, but he is also a drum person, drum guy, drum thing, whatever you guys want to call it. But yeah, here we go. We're gonna show you guys how to tune a snare, how to change the drum head and everything. So let's get started. Welcome back. So here we go. So what is the first thing you like to do when you're changing a drum head?
So an interesting thing that I like to do, or not that interesting, is I actually take a drum dial for a quick reference, and I will actually run it across the head and just get a general idea of where that tension was. Because something that people tend to forget is that when you take the head off and go to put it back on, if you can get a really good reference point of the tension you were already at, it gives you a really great starting point.
Yeah. Now, what actually is a drum dial?
So the one I am using is actually the Tension Watch by Tama. We have the Tension Watch. The drum dial is another great one. Mm-hmm. It actually has this little pin that you can see here in the bottom. That is actually what measures the tension on the drum head surface itself, and it will give you this little readout on the drum dial.
Okay.
It's a really, really great tool, especially if you're going through a lot of head changes or you aren't quite familiar with the process and really just need a good reference point.
Cool. So yeah, basically what we'll do is since he's already got that reference point, we'll just go ahead and start taking off the drum head. So here we go. All right, now it's time to take the actual head off and the rim. So we'll take that off. And we forgot to mention, but what kind of snare is this?
This is a Yamaha Recording Custom Brass. It's a 14 by 6.5.
6.5.
Absolutely wonderful snare. I love it.
Yes. All right, so another thing that we kind of like to do is go over the bearing edges with some kind of paper towel or some kind of towel just in general. Just because you can get some little, either dust or something like that from either your,
Yeah, dust definitely has a way of making its way in, especially through any type of port that you're going to have in a drum. As that drum head is opening and expanding, it takes air in. So it's very often that you will find debris inside of a snare drum.
Yeah, and wood chips and whatever else.
Yes, plenty of sawdust.
Yes. So, another thing that we like to do is wherever we have the badge here on the actual drum itself, we like to match up our logo with that. It's just kind of a personal preference, but it looks good too. So not only are we trying to get it to sound good, trying to get it to look good too.
Right. You got to look cool.
It's kind of like Taylor Swift.
No, it's not.
It's kind of like Taylor Swift,
A little bit.
So... And then basically what we're doing right here is we're putting all the lugs back on, all the tension rods back on, and getting them pretty much finger tight. And we'll kind of speed this process up. So. All right, now we're back. So another thing that people like to do, just kind of get a good start. We already have a reference point with our tension there, so we're good there. But what I like to do, even if I don't have that, is just to kind of get them finger tight. So you can do that with your fingers. I also have a drum key right here. Basically, it has a topper on here, and I pretty much will get it finger tight with that. So I'll get it as tight as I can with just my drum key.
And another reference point when you are doing finger tight tension, when you finally get to the point that you feel resistance, make sure to do both lugs on offsetting sides. The reason you want to do that is if you start to turn until you feel some resistance, you're actually going to offset your counter hoop, and that can give you some issues down the road when you go to do a quick tune. And sometimes the head won't seat properly.
Yeah. I think we're pretty close, actually.
So typically at this point, I'm going to go ahead and see how close I am, and then I'm going to reintroduce one of my best friends, and I'm going to use that tension watch. So on the last head that we put on, we were sitting at about 85 was the number. Right now, across the drum, it looks like we're somewhere in about the 70s, 80s, across most of the drum. We have a few lugs that are somewhat out, but everything's mostly in. So what I'm going to do is find one that's going to be my highest point of reference. So we're going to be over here, and then I'm going to hop over and match tension over on this other lug.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go back over.
We're about at 85 there.
So what you probably noticed was we were sitting at 80 here originally, and then I went over, took it up.
Yep.
85, great. Come back over here, we're also sitting at 85. Something that drummers make a mistake at times, we over tension one side, and it's very crucial that we get even tensioning, because if not, you'll be chasing that number all day.
Okay, so what you might have saw in the speed up of us doing this is I was actually pressing down on the drum head itself, basically to seat the drum head on the bearing edge, just to make it sit on there properly. And the cool thing with snares is that, you know, you can put a lot of tension on them. You can almost stand on them without breaking them. I don't know about me, and I don't know about you.
Almost. Most of you.
Most of it. Yeah. So anyway, that's what you saw me doing, is just pressing down on the drum head just to kind of seat it in there properly. So.
And there will be times you'll hear popping and cracking. That is just the collar and some of the glue settling and releasing. That's nothing to be afraid of. That is a very normal process. Some of you, if you're tuning drums that are larger diameter and you're running a higher tension, you'll notice as you tune the drum, you'll hear popping and cracking. That is completely normal.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid.
Yeah. So basically, at this point, what would you do next? After you've seated.
Now we're at a point that the head's kind of been roughed in as far as the general tension. We've now seated the head. At that point, I'm actually going to bring back my friend. I'm just going to do a really quick reference.
Because when you do seat the head, it does change the tension of the drum head itself, for sure. Especially if you're 200 pounds and you stand on it. It's gonna be a little different.
So this one was roughly about 5 cents off. So we went ahead and made that adjustment. At this point, what I'm going to listen for is just kind of an even consistency among the head.
Sounded pretty even. So we went across and kind of saw all that and heard everything, and everything sounds pretty close. I mean, they're not very they're not different. You know, and that's what you don't want, is that warble. If you have some weird tension, you kind of want to show them that, actually.
Yeah, there are a lot of tricks that drummers do. They kind of give you some different effects, but one thing, especially new drummers, you want to be aware of, detuning, specifically like one lug.
Yeah.
If you're playing really, really hard, there is a chance you can warp that drum hoop.
Yeah.
So be very mindful of that. But to kind of give you a quick reference of where the sound is.
Yeah, go ahead. Play for it. That's what the snare's off. This is the snare on.
So that's kind of it's going to be more of a medium high to high tensioning.
Yeah.
Just kind of back some of the. So that's going to be your standard reference point of where most musicians are going to have their head somewhere around a medium high. I play a lot of medium lows recently.
Yeah.
Just a
Me
lot
too.
of the genres I play in.
Yep. We play the same.
That's a very consistent theme among that.
Yes. We play a lot in church. So
we do.
That's where we kind of come from.
So there's a few tricks. One of them, I'm going to use a stick. You can actually kind of tune the drum down intentionally just by doing one lug if everything's even. So you'll hear. And at this point, there's actually no, as you can hear,
very, very loose.
No tension whatsoever on that specific lug. I've actually known people that do a 2-lug method.
Yeah.
And we'll take it down just a little bit lower for you. But as you hear, it starts getting that kind of wobble, warble, whatever you want to call it. So you have to be very mindful. At that point, you're going to get a lot of interaction between your now resonant head because it's trying to kind of counteract with your batter head. At that point, you can get some weird snare response. So that's something to be very, very mindful of.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of different techniques that are absolutely wonderful. And I do encourage trying them. Just be mindful. If you detune some lugs and you play very, very hard, there is a chance you can warp that hoop. So please be mindful when venturing out into anything like this. But starting out, totally recommend even tension.
Yep, all the way. And then, so now we'll get it back to kind of where we were with that drum dial. So. And then from there, so now that we have everything, sometimes people like to muffle their drums just to kind of get rid of some of the overtones that you would hear. So right here we have some moon gels, what it's called, basically the sticky hands that you could get from like Piggly Wiggly or something like that. So basically the same thing, but these are made specifically for drums. So I'm taking one off here. And sometimes you might use one or two, just depending on what you want. I typically will put mine up here next to the logo. That's just me. Yeah. Sometimes I'll go across, but most of the time one will do a lot of wonders there. So if you want to go ahead and play it and just show them the difference between it. Yeah, so that's one, and then this is with it off, just to give you a reference. You can kind of hear those overtones going away. Yeah, but anyway, that's how you kind of go about tuning a drum, kind of taking it off, taking the head off, and kind of restarting from basically nothing. If you guys like what you see here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There will be plenty more videos, I think, with him doing some drum stuff, maybe even some sound stuff. So yeah, don't forget to do that, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.